thank Representative Kendra Horn. She is from our 5th district, representing our 5th district here in Oklahoma. And we also have Representative Jacob Rosecrans, and he is from District 46, I believe. That is Norman and Noble. And he's a former teacher. And as far as our advocacy, that's something I am passionate about. I am the #1 passionate, advocate. There are many health issues that I have gone through in my life that have basically taken me from the back seat and put me forward in the front seat and given me a voice to stand up for what I have gone through, good and bad, and help others through this, not only the pandemic, but also with arthritis. A lot of people don't understand the impact arthritis has on people, so we're trying to get that out there. We want to advocate. We want people to understand, 1 in 4 are disabled, 1 in 4. That's a lot, so we're just glad that you're here. And I do have some questions, and I will start with Kendra Horn. And okay, first, why is it important for advocates to speak to their legislators?
Well, first, I want to say thank you so much for putting this together. I love when groups are working to build advocates, because that is what it really takes to shift things. And Tiffany, you said you're passionate about advocacy. That is something that has always been near and dear to my heart, because it's easy to think you're not going to be able to make a difference, right? It seems so big. It seems so foreign. We hear all of these negative things about lobbyists and that sort of thing, and why would we speak up, because it's not going to make a difference anyway. Well, I'm here to tell you it absolutely does. And the most impactful lobbyists are people, are each and every one of you sharing your story and the impact of policies, because a lot of times the policies that are put into place, sometimes much of the time they're well-intentioned, sometimes they're not well thought through, and that's why it's really important for me to understand, when we're thinking about passing a law or addressing some issues, to understand how it's impacting individuals as well as whole industries in different ways, right? But when we're talking about arthritis, you're talking about your individual experiences and broader experiences, whether it's yours or a family member or something like that. And the #1 thing that you all can do is begin to build relationships with the people that represent you. Because the most effective way to make sure that we're holding our elected officials accountable is to have relationships with them. That's why it's important. If no one reaches out to us, and we don't know something's happening, it can be, there's a lot of things going on, right? And that's why it's important to build relationships with us, but also, in my case, especially now, Representative Rosecrans at the state level, he doesn't have as many staff. He's got a limited amount of staff. So you're going to have to talk to him. He's got 1, right? But that's why it's so important, also to build relationships with your elected official, but also your member of Congress, whether it's your congresswoman or congressman or senator. We have people that really specialize in these different areas. You've got Victoria here, and Lucas, and I know this is a little bit longer answer, but I think it's really important. It's important to build relationships to help educate us. And in my opinion, if a legislator is doing their job right, they want to hear your story, they want to understand your challenges, and then in whatever ways they can, they want to take action. Now, we can't always change things all at once, but the more we understand, the better able we are to respond. So 1, it's so we can understand. 2, it's so it helps us to be able to advocate to our colleagues to say, hey, these people are reaching out to me. This is working or it's not. And the more calls and quite frankly, in person or now virtual interactions we have, the more we can help to say, this is really important to my constituents, and what can we do about it? And then I think the other piece of this puzzle is in advocacy, it's really important to build just the relationship. So you're not always like, it's not always you're mad at somebody, or you're like, okay, we have to get this done now. That building those relationships is a really important way to do things. And it also helps you to help the people that you interact with to say, hey, Congresswoman Horn's office is here to help people. And one of the main things that we do, my job is to legislate, but it's also to help people. And that's where like Lucas comes in the district office. One of the most important things that I get to do is casework to help people that need help with federal programs, or sometimes even like federal dollars that have gone through to a state program, like the recent unemployment, to make sure that they actually are getting paid out. So if you know that you've got a person that's serving that actually cares, that's going to take action, then you can help other people connect with them, whether it's a change in law and policy or whether it's getting people the help that they need. The most effective way to get things done is to have a relationship. And that's why these kind of things are so important. I could talk all day about it. And understanding that, advocacy means building too. It's not, you can't do it once and then you're done. That's the other piece. You gotta keep building relationships and momentum, and understanding that sometimes the most radical and substantive change comes from chipping away at taking action that we can get through now. But those relationships are absolutely key.
Thank you for that answer. Thank you. I want to go ahead, and since you are on a tight schedule, Mrs. Horn, if you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and give you the questions, so that way I know you're on a tight schedule. The second question would be, give an example of a time that you've been moved by a consensual story, just something that has stood out to you, that has, something that you've remembered, that when you go to make a vote, or you are thinking about this piece of legislation, that this story pops in your head and you're like, I remember this person, I remember this story, I remember this family, I remember the impacts. Could you give us an example?
Oh, absolutely. There are many stories that really stick with me, of families, of individuals, of businesses, quite frankly, in the midst of this pandemic, like our local Oklahomans. Talking about healthcare, I think one of the things that stands out to me is actually a story that started when I was running, before I was elected. And that's when I met a gentleman named Clayton McCook, who is an advocate for type 1 diabetes community, because his daughter has type 1 diabetes, but he's also really worked with so many people in this community, and the impact of the significant increase in the cost of insulin has been devastating for so many families. And when he came to reached out to me, and I heard his story and his family's story about what their family had to go through to get insulin for his daughter, but more so another advocate, not even more so, but additionally that another advocate in the type 1 diabetes community who shared his story of having to, the weight of the cost of insulin being so much that he had to leave his job, because it was literally so expensive that he couldn't keep paying insulin, keep a roof over his family's head, and that this cost was driving him to the verge of suicide, thinking that his family might be better off. That is one of the things that sticks with me when I'm talking about or thinking about what we can do about the cost of prescription drugs, about how we address care and coverage for people who are literally doing everything they can, who through the combination of circumstances and genes are living with an illness that can be controlled, thankfully, with, with technology, with pharmaceuticals that we have now and have had for a long time, but that who a few people have decided they're going to make it so expensive that people are making life and death decisions with rationing insulin and so many things of that nature, that it is making a difference in their lives. Those are the kind of things that stick with me, even when we don't get things fully across the finish line. It means that like I keep going, right? Because we passed the Lower Drug Costs Now Act in December of last year out of the House. The Senate hasn't taken up action on it, but you know what? That does, like, I'm not going to stop, because I'm always going to know that I have to keep working for Clayton and his family and all of the other people who are still struggling with this. And those are the kind of things I carry with me. And during this pandemic, we've been able to help, families to get their unemployment insurance, and that their unemployment benefits that they're entitled to. That several stories of people who were on the verge of being evicted, of losing the roof over their head, and because we kept pushing, they got the benefits that they're entitled to. They kept a roof over their head. They kept them from losing their home. Those are the kind of things that stick with me. And there are more stories than even I know, because that's the other piece of having a really good team around you, that I could not do it without like an amazing and dedicated staff and team, that we're all in this together, and we recognize that. But it's those are the kind of stories that, the sole proprietor hair salon, like the person that does hair, that was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. They're telling me I can't qualify for this. And we say, all right, all right, we got this. Let us help you. And, those are the kind of things that keep me going, because it's, that you're making a difference.
And you are. Oklahoma, we know you're making a difference. We love you, and we love everything you've done for us. So same as Rosecrans, Rose, he is a phenomenal teacher. That's his background. So we have two amazing representatives here who were willing to take their time out to discuss with us, the importance of building the relationship. And it's not a one-time thing. And after today, we follow up and we send a thank you, and we continue to go on our mission. And there we can become advocates, and it's not hard. You don't have to leave your home and go to the Capitol every Saturday to be an advocate. So it's not something that is gonna break your legs and take the gas out of your tank. It's not gonna do that. And so we appreciate you being here and answering that. I do have one more. How would you, Mrs. Thorne, how do you prefer to hear from your constituents? Is it email? Is it, what is your preference, and how can people get to you? How do they know, I have this problem, or I just want to talk to her, or, whatever the case, how can they get a hold of you?
Well, there's a lot of ways to get a hold of me. So let me cover the main ones. If somebody has a unique problem, for example, with Social Security or Medicare or Medicaid or something, any federal program, call my Oklahoma City office or reach out. You can email, because that's where the way that it's divided in my office, right, is you got the DC team that does a lot of policy, but my team works really closely together. But the Oklahoma office, that's where we people with casework, right? A lot of people, and Lucas, you talk more about this, and I know Jacob does a lot of this with his office as well. A phone call is a good way to do it, or an email about a specific issue that you're having with something. Great way to do it. Working with groups like the Arthritis Foundation is a wonderful way to connect, because this allows me to connect with many people at the same time. I have town halls. It's another great way to connect. if you have a policy issue that you're concerned about, reaching out with either an email or a phone call to the office is also effective. But if there's a specific bill or something that we need to take up, you see this lady here, says Victoria Bautista, who is awesome and amazing. She's my legislative assistant. If you've got policy issues, a really good way to start is, remember, I couldn't do this without them. So talking to my staff is like, my team is a really great way to say, hey, there's this bill. And then she can help make sure that it gets in front of me. But that's one of the reasons that I try to do so many, things like this, because it's helpful for me to talk to you and hear your stories. But you're always welcome to call or email in the I need help with someone, or I have a friend that needs help. They can't afford this medication, or the insurance, like Medicare is denying this, or they're caught in something. Like, we can help. Those are places that we can help, right? Call or email Oklahoma City. But if you're concerned about something that's coming up, call, email my office, or Victoria specifically, with hey, there's a bill coming up. It just will get right to the top, because the way that we have it divided. There's a lot of ways that I like to connect, and usually I have lots of town halls, or I love to see people in person. We're just doing a little bit less of that right now until we get on the other side of this. But I think those are important ways to do it. Come to a town hall, ask a question. Those are all really good pathways. But I do want to make sure that you all know, and I hate that I have to go. That's I've got like another thing right after this, and votes. So I would love to stay longer, but we are here to help. That's the message that if I can leave you with anything, we are here to help, and you all individually and collectively can and do make a difference. Those are the two things that I think I want everybody to know. It's easy to think, oh, I don't know, like, can I make a difference? It's just, I'm one person, it's overwhelming, people don't care. That they do care, and you can make a difference, and we really do want to hear from you. Those are we're here to help, and you can make a difference. Those are the things that I just want everybody to know. And I know Representative Rosecrans is going to fill you with all kinds of other suggestions, and that's fantastic. And I look forward to hearing a report back. We'll see if he's on his best behavior as the teacher. Oftentimes, I think teachers are the troublemakers, but there's that good trouble that we got to get into, and I think that's the thing that we remember. We can always, and look, we may not always agree on everything. Like, we may disagree on approaches, and that's okay. Have some back and forth. And to me, it's important for me to listen to everybody and interact with everybody on different sides of things. But it's that back and forth and understanding and being able to ask questions. It's really helpful for me. So I'm really grateful to be here with you all tonight. Thank you so much for letting me hang out and answer a few questions. And I think Victoria and Lucas, you're going to be able to stay a little bit longer, right? Okay. Wonderful. Thank you. So great to see all of you. And I look forward to seeing many of you in person. Kristen and Tiffany, sisters, cousins, long lost cousins. I love it. And everyone else, that for all the work you do. And thank you for being a part of this, and look forward to, we'll hopefully seeing you in person at some point in the not too distant future.
And Congresswoman, I think I would speak for all of us to say, thank you so much for being a co-sponsor of the Safe Step Act, around which handles step therapy reform practices at the federal level. It's something that we are very passionate about at the Arthritis Foundation. And I know other patient advocacy groups feel the same way. And so we certainly thank you for your support. And Representative Rosecrans, you did a phenomenal job in the state legislature for supporting that legislation as well. So we thank you both.
Happy to do it. I think it's an important reform that we have to undertake, and very grateful for your work and advocacy. And I know at the state level, they've been working really hard on it too. So we've got more to do, but I know we can make progress.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Kristen, and you can go ahead and ask the questions and go from there.
Okay, so let's hear from Representative Rose-Krantz. I don't know, would you prefer that we ask you the questions, or did you want to go through and show us your presentation?
That's a great question. Really, it's open. I've got more time than than Kendra does. It just is what it is. I've cut a little bit of time out. Right now, normally I'd be knocking doors, but it's raining. So, and plus, I decided that I'm not going to be in person this particular year because of COVID and all that. But what we're doing now is text knocking. It's insane. It's nonstop. Expensive, but it really, really, really does give some great conversations, but it takes a lot of time. So basically, I'd be doing that right now if I wasn't doing this. But this is very important because what Representative Horn said is extremely true. Now I'm going to try to show you some ways to do that. You see what I'm saying? And she said it, and everything was right. But now I'm going to try. So now I'm not real great at Zoom just yet, but I think I do know how to share screens. I do have a little presentation. It's going to cover your questions, and I have time at the end for any other questions. So you can take notes, whatever. I have a few handy links that I'm putting up real quick. They are going to have to do with the presentation. They're very, very helpful. This one right here is all about being able to find your own state rep, because believe it or not, as people go to advocate, they do not know who their state rep is. And that's one great way to find out. That's just state rep. Now, there's other apps out there that can help you find everything else. I think there's one from the state of Oklahoma. This is one I use all the time because it's state rep only and state senator only. You just put your address in there and it's boom, you're set. And then the other one is, if you just give me a second here. This one is an amazing, amazing, amazing app that you must get. It tells you everything there is to know about, let me get it up here, us at the state level. Once again, it's state specific. It's put on by OAEC, and it's an app that tells you everything about us, the committees that we're in, who we are, our office numbers and stuff like that. It's insanely important, and that's going to be part of the little thing here. So, like I said, I'll have plenty of time to take questions afterwards, but here we go. Let's see. I'm not good at this. Let's see. Yeah? You see it?
We got it.
All right. Here we go. Okay. So the old teacher in me comes out. This is the Arthritis Foundation Advocate event. It's an advocacy lesson by me. So can everybody see that screen fully? Is everybody? Okay, cool. Again, it's kind of new for me. I'm kind of excited about this. So your first question was, why is it important for advocates to speak to the legislators? Well, your legislators were elected by you. Basically, you are our bosses, straight up. Many people like to say that, hey, we can tell anything and tell you to do anything and all this stuff. Well, you still want to be respectful, but it's true. we are representatives of you, no matter what party, no matter, Republican, Democrat. All the time I tell people, I'm like, hey, listen, I may be a Democrat, but it doesn't mean I just represent Democrats. You see what I'm saying? I represent Republicans, independents, people that can't vote, all of that. So that's important. Also, the second little point here, right here, you got to know the issue. Is it municipal? Is it state? Is it federal? Because if you go to me with something that Kendra Horn can handle, and I'll get you to her. I'll definitely get you to her staff. I know most of them, but it's just going to be one of those ways that it's going to go through a little bit extra. Municipal, the most questions I get are, hey, can you fix my sidewalk? What are we doing about the police funding? All these types of things. I'm like, well, believe it or not, that is a municipal issue. I'll get you to your city council person. And then state for me would be anything that has to do with funding for the state. Like you said, your bill, the step bill, those types of things. And we try to get people, I can be the middle ground. I can get you where you need to go. My office can get you where you need to go, but it's always helpful to know those things. So also, people like to just reach out to the governor. He's got his staff too, but listen, reach out to us before you reach out to the governor. It's just so much more effective. He's very busy. We're busy too, but we're busy more targeted, if you will. Also, the handy link I've already included there for you is to find out your state rep and senator. It's open states. It's great. It's so simple. You put your address in and bing, bang, boom. You can find out who is representing you. Upper is the Senate and lower is the state representative. So that's great. Now that could change because people keep, winning and losing every 2 years, but they try to keep it pretty good. Okay, so question number 1 continued. It's also best to know when to contact your representatives and senators. Guys, as I was building an advocacy core for one of my bills, Lauren's Law, which basically brings it brings consent and healthy relationship education to our schools. That took a lot of advocacy, and people just didn't even know when to reach out to their state reps and their senators. So, and you can find all this out too in the OAC app that I provided for you in the link there. This is not easy to figure out, guys. That's why this was kind of a tough little presentation to put together, because to put it in terms that can be understood, it doesn't really give you the whole point of how difficult it really is to know these things. There's deadlines for everything. So if you reach out to me for a bill idea, but it's January, my bills were already due in December, okay, for that next upcoming session. Also, know that session is from early February to late May. That does vary, a few weeks here and there, but that's when we most likely are going to start getting a ton of emails for just about every bill, especially because most people don't know how to advocate for their own bill. They'll blanket the emails off to everybody, and that's not excellent. That does not help you. When you blanket, an email off to somebody who that bill may not even be in that committee, they're just going to toss it. They're going to be like, "This is what does it have to do with me?" So, the second point, it's best to know who to contact, meaning the committee members. Use that OAC app. It's great. It'll tell you what committees are which. It'll give you their emails. You can't do it. Can't like hit one button and get it all done, but you have to put a little work in there. But advocacy does take work. And then you can be more effective. So as that bill was going through, I made sure that the people that were emailing the right people at the right time. It was difficult, but the best way to learn is experience. And so that's kind of where that all comes from. That's what I'm trying to kind of bring down to y'all. How can we make our story stand out? Be honest, but also be brief. If you're going to give me a 5-paragraph essay about something, I could lose the gist. Something, I don't know. I try to read everything that comes in front of me, but it's not that easy all the time, especially during sessions. So be honest, but be brief. And this is so important. This next point right here, where it says key. Find out. Ask me, ask my legislative assistant, whoever, what is the best way to reach out? We all have a language of love, at least at the state level. Now, Kendra wasn't lying. It's different. She has a team of people. So she has an education expert, and she has this, that, and the expert. We don't. We have us, and we have our legislative assistants, and we have some staff that helps us with questions, bills, but mostly it's us. So find out how your state representative and your state senator, find out what their language of love is. We all have one. Some people love that in-person deal. I do too, but honestly, what has shown to me the best way, if you email me at my work email, I'm going to be the one that's going to actually respond to you. As long as you're a person, the fill in the blank text with all that stuff at the state level, very ineffective. It may work at the federal level because I think they count them, but here, you're not going to get anywhere with that. It goes into another folder even. But if it's a real person, it's going to be me looking it over, figuring it out, and trying to help you out, really, no matter what time of night or day it is. That's why, they say that we're servants to the people. We are. We absolutely are. And you darn well better elect people that have that in their heart. Otherwise, you're going to get the wall that you don't want to get. So, and that's the worst thing for an advocate, is to have the wall, like, oh, yeah, we'll be right on that. Sure. And then not really do anything. So that's so important. So for me, again, if you're taking notes, for me, it's my emails. I get on them super duper fast. That can change for each person. Some are really great at phone calls. I'm horrible at phone calls. Some are super great at writing letters. I don't even know what a pencil and a pen, I don't do that. Listen, I will do that. I'm just saying I will get to you within minutes if you email me. Minutes. It comes to my phone. So if anybody ever tells you at the state level that they didn't get your email, you best grill them, because we can put those apps on our phone and we can see them. I'm getting 2 right now. So, I mean, it's just straight up a lie. Yeah, I'm going to cause some good trouble. Again, that's the state level, okay? That's not federal or municipal. That's the state level. Types of communication. Y'all, emails, like I said, great for me. Maybe it's not so great for others, but that's good. I think it's always good, though, with emails because we also do have our legislative assistants who will take those ones that we can't get. And our legislative assistants are trained really well to reach out to whoever they need to, and usually can fix issues before it even gets to us. And except if a state rep or senator has a preference. I have a preference. I like to take care of my own. Auto emails, we went over that. Not a great call. Sorry, it's just not at the state level. Phone calls, sure, yeah, it works. But most likely you're gonna get my legislative assistant, Chelsea, and she's really good, and she'll get some to me, but not everybody. Auto phone calls, no. In person, yes, but there's a caveat. If you do that during a session, we are all over the place. We're in committee meetings, we're on the floor. Now you can choose us, you can get us off the floor. If you're a constituent, you can go out there and you say, I want to talk to my state representative now. You can pull us off the floor. That's a little secret that many people don't know. You have that power. You are our bosses. So you just go right up there on the floor and you like, get him. and you can get us. So in-person works too. And actually I prefer in-person, but right now during the virus, I miss people, y'all. I miss y'all. I do. And letters, listen, those are heartfelt. I read them, but it's going to be a while until I get back to you on them. So that's just one of those things. That's me, but there's the types of communication. Of course, you may have some more, but that's kind of what we're looking at. Let's see. Yeah. Yep. Last question. Is it impactful for you to hear from your constituents by email, phone, or Twitter? For me, you bet it is. Ask Tiffany. She reached out to me on my Facebook. And did I answer within like 5 seconds?
Absolutely. I mean, immediately. And I was like, yes, I got a response. I didn't have to go through the whole per usual. So, and it was actually on a Sunday, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I do appreciate that.
No, it's my pleasure. That's the thing. See, I don't know, maybe I'm a former teacher. Maybe it's the salesman in me back in the day. It's like, if you reach out to me, by God, I'm going to answer, and I'm going to answer pretty darn fast. And I know, listen, some people won't do that because they have to think about the question or they have to have their staff. Don't hate them for that. That's just the way they are. We're all a little different. But, and Facebook is my language of love. It is. I will get to you. It comes to me on my phone. Boom, I get those. Boom, boom, boom. Twitter, I'm starting to learn. You can still reach out to me there too. I'm not great at it. Instagram, I love pictures. I post pictures. You can still reach out to me there too. But so there's 3 ways right there on top of my email. 4 different ways that you can get me personally. And that's just, that's me. So do you all have any questions for me? And I'm going to switch back to my face over here. Hi.
I think you did a really great job at explaining advocacy, what an advocate does, and how you respond. I really appreciate that, and I appreciate you putting that together for us. Kristen, does anybody else have any questions?
Bring them on. Victoria, come on, don't be silent.
Just a comment. I think that Rep. Rosecrans has one of the hardest jobs in the world, for sure. I mean, the federal level is a different beast, but I get to work with the congresswoman and a ton of other staffers who get to understand a lot of other things. In my portfolio, there are 7 issues, and they are very large issues, but it also means that I don't have to handle tax questions, which I'm forever grateful for. And so I would say that my email is the best way to reach out to me about healthcare questions. I get about 100 emails overnight, and then throughout the day, throughout 8 hours, I get about 250. And so if I don't respond immediately, I want to thoroughly apologize. I am just digging myself out of an inbox hole every single day. Emailing me more than once genuinely does help. And I know that that's the case of several other staffers in our office. But know that we are trying our darndest to get back to you in a reasonable amount of time by trying to get the actual item the action item that you've listed done. And so these personal contacts really genuinely do help, though, in terms of like bringing it up to the top of our minds. And as Rep. Rosecrans said, keeping it brief doesn't hurt. I love to read people's stories. It is one of the joys of being able to work in this office. Having grown up here is to be able to read about a program. Actually, earlier today, I had the wonderful joy of being able to call somebody and tell them that they won a grant from the federal government, which I almost never get to do fun things. Having grown up here my entire life, being able to give back like that is a joy and an honor and a pleasure. And so, but it's also a lot of stuff to do. So please give me grace. And I hope to be as helpful as possible in the future to all of y'all. And I know that's the same for the Congresswoman, and I know that's the same of every person on our staff. I would recommend not to reach out to any of us necessarily on our personal social media, mostly because there are, we have some security protocols that we have in place because of some incidents that happened at the beginning of the year. So we try to separate our personal lives from the federal office.
And that makes sense. That makes sense. That ain't me. Bring it on.
I'm glad. I'm so glad.
Bring it on. No, I know it's a little different. I've tried to reach out to some of my own before I was a state representative. I don't think I ever got a real message, but, and I don't judge either. Also, another thing, well, here's my email, guys. Here's another little trick at the state level and Senate, I believe too. It's just our first and last, our first names dot last name at either okhouse.gov or oksenate.gov. So now, if you can't find an email, that's a little quick trick, and it's actually pretty helpful to know that. I'm giving you all the advocacy tricks over here.
We appreciate it. We love it. We love it.
Yeah. Well, it's important. Like, again, trying to get important legislation passed, it's tough. It's tough. I'm a member of the minority party too, which makes it about 15 times tougher, 50,000 times tougher. But it makes it to where I have to work harder too. And I apparently like to work really hard. So works out for me. Any other questions? I think, Stephen, you had one there? I'm reading people's faces. The old teacher in me. You look curious.
He's actually getting ready to help me present on some of our legislative issues for next year. So I'm sure that he was thinking in his mind like, oh, okay, I may need to connect the dots there. But thank you so much for speaking with that was incredible and such great information that you shared with us. And I took quite a few pictures so that we can share on our social media page. And as I said at the beginning, we'll be sharing this information with our Oklahoma advocates that were unable to attend tonight. So I thank you for this information. It will be very helpful to us as we continue to work on our advocacy issues for 2021. In the interest of time, I want to move forward really quickly. We're going to run through our federal and state legislative priorities for next year so that you all will have an idea of what we're planning to work on. So Stephen, I'm going to just jump right in and turn this over to you. And then I'll talk a little bit more at the end about our advocacy committee that we are hoping to grow after this call. We need all hands on deck. And so we'll talk about that in just a few minutes, but let me share my screen with you all.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Kristen. Oh, what a great presentation. Just fantastic job by Tiffany, by all of you Oklahoma advocates, Oklahoma Advocacy Committee. We're going to kind of put this together today. It's just been a great presentation as far as kind of how to engage with your elected officials. Right now, we'll talk a little bit about kind of the resources the Arthritis Foundation offers to help kind of put some of those into practice. I think there's a lot of great tips, and I know that we can be helpful on that, but I think I'm on to talk a little bit about our priorities, our advocacy level. Talk first about federal, then I'll get to kind of my specialty on state as the Director of State Legislative Affairs for the Arthritis Foundation. I think some of these topics are ones that you've likely seen as an Arthritis Foundation advocate, but I think I just want to touch upon them pretty quickly just so that you know what we're working on. And you'll see the bit.ly links there, but for the most part, all these action items are in our Action Center right now. And very easy to find on our advocacy page, but if there's one that is kind of perks your ears up, you can go there, you can take action, you can modify the message, make sure that it kind of, like Representative Rosecrans was talking about, kind of dodges any filters by kind of sharing your story within that, but we make it very easy. But first of all, is the step therapy, the Safe Step Act, which has been talked about a little bit already, which is House Bill 2279 and S2546, both in the House and the Senate. It kind of streamlines the step therapy process, puts some guardrails in place to make sure that it works a little bit better. And we've got 150 co-sponsors, including 2 from Oklahoma, including Representative Horn, who's just here tonight. So it's fantastic. And so they're continue to talk with your representatives on that bill. And then one that has been so important for us right now is making sure that we have fully funded CDC arthritis program that helps us really do a lot of the kind of key statistics that we utilize in arthritis. When you're going to a legislative office talking about how many people have arthritis from your particular state, that's usually the CDC that's doing that accounting. And the number of programs that we've worked with on, such as Walk with Ease, that's coming from our work with the CDC. So $54 million for the 54 million people that have arthritis. So that we're going to be striving for the next several sessions of Congress to make sure that we continue to chip away and hopefully continue to work there. Pediatric rheumatology shortage. This is an issue that you've likely seen us work on because it's so important that we have so many juvenile arthritis patients that don't have a healthcare provider, especially in rural areas, that can see them in a timely manner because there's just this shortage. They're working very hard, but increasing that number of pediatric rheumatologists is something that we'll continue to work very closely on to increase, and your help is so important there. And then getting into these last ones, research is always going to be important, whether it's at the CDC that I mentioned, the National Institutes of Health, or the Department of Defense. So we have so many different avenues to go to try to get as much research on arthritis done that will kind of filter its way down to patients like yourself. Second to last, we're going to continue to work on surprise billing. It's a huge topic for so many different patients that often go to, whether getting surgeries is one that you often hear an example of, but they may have their surgeon that's under their in-network coverage, but maybe the anesthesiologist isn't. And so examples like that is why we're doing a social media push with so many other great nonprofit patient organizations and provider organizations on I Was Billed hashtag. So you just check that hashtag and share your story if it's appropriate for you. And then lastly, on federal, Congressional Arthritis Caucus, always a good ask for the members of Congress just to join the caucus, get information on arthritis, make sure that they know like this. They're invited to briefings, invited to opportunities to learn more about arthritis. So those are our federal asks. And now to kind of my home, which is state. And I think one of the biggest topics that will pop up in Oklahoma in 2021 will be a reintroduction of an accumulator adjustment program bill that actually passed the House of Representatives in Oklahoma. Representative Rosecrans voted in favor of it, including I think almost everyone in the House, but just got caught up in the delays of COVID. I think it passed out of the House on March 10th. So right at the cusp of when we were learning a lot of information around COVID, and I think a lot of legislatures kind of had to take a pause. And so it's something that will be back and we'll be continuing to talk about, but just a quick overview on accumulator adjustment programs. They're put in place by insurers and pharmacy benefit managers that restrict a copay assistance, which a lot of our patients utilize to afford their medications from counting towards your deductible. So what will happen is that you'll utilize that copay assistance. It'll eventually run out, and then you'll go to the pharmacy, you'll go to your infusion center, you'll go to wherever you're going to get your prescription filled and find out right there and then that, oh, I have an accumulator adjustment program that wasn't really articulated very well in my contract. And all of a sudden, I have to kind of pay for the full deductible right there and then to get to my medication. And it's just not right, because one of the biggest elements of it is that while the patient's having to pay that out-of-pocket cost, the insurance plan's double dipping by getting not only the funds that they got from the copay assistance, but then also from the actual patient too, for the same exact cost sharing. So it's something that will be back. I see Representative Rosecrans put in the chat for everyone that he thinks it'll pass in 2021. And I think that's just a lot of the education that patients like yourself have done this past session that will likely continue in the next one. And that's exciting. And then the last one we have noted is just making sure that that the step therapy reform law that was passed and then just went into effect this January is implemented correctly. What we find sometimes is that some of these laws, it'll take some time for plans to implement, but we want to make sure that if you're continuing to have issues with state regulated plans, with step therapy, where if you're not kind of getting exception requests back in a timely manner, continue to talk with your health plan about it, continue to talk with the proper regulators, and we can help you get there. But make sure to keep that in mind as you're going forward, just because you have a good law in place. It's just now at this point where it's up to us to make sure that's implemented properly, and that's a team effort. But that's what we're working on both a federal and state level. And I'll kick it back up to Kristen to kind of talk through kind of how we can get there as a committee and as a community.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Stephen. So now is the part of the program where we get to tell you how we need your help as we work on those legislative issues for 2021. And one of the most important ways that you can be a part of what we're doing at the foundation is joining Tiffany and helping to form our Oklahoma Advocacy Committee. And so what that means is that you will help us to continue to break down the barriers to care in Oklahoma. We're looking for committed advocacy leaders to join Tiffany to develop this committee and to serve on the committee. We have a training program that gives a little bit more information about what the committee responsibilities are and what you'll be doing in this role. But just a quick overview, the committee will meet virtually. It will depend on what works best for the committee's schedule. It can be quarterly. You all can talk via the phone, email, or private chat rooms, but you'll meet at least each quarter to talk through advocacy issues and business that are happening in Oklahoma. You all will help to plan with me. So sorry about that. You'll help to plan our state legislative activities for the Oklahoma legislative session. And so as we're working on that accumulator issue, we'll talk through, would we like to send a letter of support to the committee that is hearing the accumulator issue? Should we have a virtual lobby day, since next year we probably will be unable to meet in person. And if we do have a virtual lobby day, you'll assist in planning those activities. You'll also help to increase the advocacy engagement in the state. We'll work together on a plan to increase the number of advocates that we have and the number of advocates that are taking action. And then finally, one of the new things that we're rolling out, we'd like to identify advocacy district representatives for each congressional district in the state. And this means that that district representative will serve as the go-to person to reach out to their member of Congress on a number of issues, whatever is important to the foundation around our legislative issues. If there's a vote going on, that person will be the main person to reach out to the legislators so that we have a touch point. And so we need help to identify those district representatives and to help manage them as well. If you're interested in joining the committee, Tiffany and I would love to speak with you offline about what the position entails and what the next steps are. So please reach out to me via email, and I will send a follow-up email to everyone that attended tonight so that you'll have my information as well. Just, I wanted to quickly review, I know we're close on time, I wanted to quickly review some of the advocacy tools that we have at the Arthritis Foundation. If you're unfamiliar with them, we have our Action Center, which houses all of our action alerts, information about your legislators, from the President of the United States down to your local representatives. You can find all of this information on our Action Center. We also have a story bank, which is really important to the work that we do at the foundation. This allows us to privately hold your personal story and how some of the legislative issues that we work on impact your journey with arthritis. And so we're able to pull those stories whenever an issue pops up, and we can look back and say, oh, we have an advocate who has unfortunately dealt with some of these challenges. They may be a good fit to tell their story to a legislator. And so we encourage you to go to the story bank and share your story with us. As I said, we keep that private and confidential amongst our team, and we will reach out to you if there's an opportunity that fits for you to share your story. As I mentioned, we have our Find Your Legislators tool. It's very easy to use. You'll input your zip code. There are certain times where we'll need a little bit more information, and so you'll input your mailing address. You'll click Continue. This is a great diagram showing you what to do. And as I mentioned, it pulls up all of your officials from the federal government down to your state officials. And you can send a personal message to them using the Compose Message action tool there at the bottom. You can also track legislation using our Action Center. If you visit the link here, you can click on Find Legislation, you can input a bill number, or you can look up legislation that we have marked at the foundation as being important to us, and bills, especially at the federal level, that we are tracking. We also include some state bills from time to time. If there's any bill information that you're looking for that may not be listed on the website, you can always reach out to our team and we'd be happy to provide you with more information. This is just reviewing what you'll find once you get to that site. Some of the listservs that we've heard about tonight, and I just want to reiterate how important they are to the advocacy work that we do. You know, building relationships with your legislators is so very important. Attending those teleconference calls that they may host, any town halls or coffee hours with your legislators. We want to make sure that you are aware of those events, and the best way to find that out is to take a look at your legislator's website, to sign up for their newsletters, to follow them on social media so that you're always up to date with what they have going on. You may also want to look for state-specific health policy email lists about some of the emerging legislative issues that may be coming up in the next legislative session. If you need help with finding some of those lists, we'd be happy to point you in the right direction. And then, of course, don't forget about your ambassador newsletter that you can sign up for through the foundation on our website. And so things that you can do now: join the Oklahoma Advocacy Committee. We need you. We need dedicated volunteers to help us push, to continue to push our advocacy efforts forward. Send a message to your legislator through our Action Center. And as we've heard a couple times tonight, be sure to make that message personal. Sign up as an ambassador. Set the goal to become a platinum ambassador in our program. When you're using Twitter or posting on social media, be sure to use that hashtag #AdvocateForArthritis so that we can find your message and retweet it for you. And then, most importantly, share your story. Share your experiences with your legislators and with other advocates. Quickly getting through here. You are just a few minutes away from breaking down the barriers to care. Change your subject line when you're sending one of our emails out. Introduce yourself and share your arthritis story. Add a thank you and a closing to any of the emails that you send out. And make sure that you change around the middle body of the emails that we send out to include your personal story. Some of our final resources: we've just recently launched our Arthritis Learning Center, which is an online training tool, and we encourage you all to visit. Reach out to me if you have not received login information, but we'd love to have you all take a look at our training center. Let me stop sharing so I can see your wonderful faces. This is the end of our presentation. I want to thank you all for joining us tonight. Tiffany, our advocacy chair, as I said, did an amazing job with pulling this event together. I'm so proud of her and just so thankful for her passion to connect with legislators and to build those relationships. Are there any questions that I can answer before we leave, or any comments? I want to give you all the opportunity to share.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Kind of looking ahead, I know, obviously we're not allowed to do a lot of in-person events now, but when we have like our key events throughout the year, such as our Arthritis Walk, Jingle Bell Run coming up in our gala, and different events aside from our legislative days where, we try to go to the Capitol or have the meetings in person, do you like to be invited to go to our walk or be a speaker and join us for that, so you get to engage with your constituents in person? I mean, we all know you have a busy schedule, Representative Rosecrans, but we like to have you there live in person and extend that opportunity just in case.
Oh, absolutely. Email me.
Awesome. I totally love doing that, keeping everybody involved in what's going on, just so you're aware, and if you can, and if it fits in your schedule. So it's just nice to know that. And hopefully we can get to that place here again soon. Right?
Yeah, no, as a gregarious person that I am, this is no fun. No fun.
I know.
I can make so many more meetings, not gonna lie, but like,
yep.
I miss people. And boy, I tell you what, when I run into somebody on the street right now, it's like, hey, oh my God.
You're like a chatterbox, just chatter. You haven't seen somebody in so long. That's how I am. Same exact way.
Me too.
I'm such a people person. I love people. I love to be around people. I feed off of people's energy. So, you get somebody that's just going, you feed off that. So
yep,
I love that. And I do miss that. And I'm glad we do at least have an alternative that we can see each other's faces and at least, make the best of what we have until, we can get into person. So, but there's still a lot of things that we can do, and we'll continue to advocate. We'll continue. I need you guys to join me, be part of the Oklahoma Advocacy Committee, and we have a lot that's coming up, that's on our plate, and it's not just all work. It's a learning process, but it's also interesting, and it's you learn a lot of interesting things behind the scenes that you would never otherwise know. So it's a very interesting and a passion of mine. And so please join us. We'd love to have you.
Wonderful.
Are there any other questions or comments from the group? Okay. Well, you all can feel free to email me, and as well as Tiffany, if you have anything that you would like to say. Representative Rosecrans, we cannot thank you enough for joining us this evening, and certainly, you know, we are so grateful for your support of our issues previously, and we certainly look forward to working with you in the upcoming legislative session. So thank you for joining us. Thank you all for coming tonight, and we will be talking soon via email. Have a good night.